The free HTML course that you're about to watch is just a small part of our full front-end web development masterclass. So if you also want to learn CSS, Bootstrap, Font Awesome, Animate.css, and all of that, and also gain your certificate and become a certified front-end web developer, you can enjoy the fast link in the description and get your access to our full front-end web development bootcamp at a fraction of cost. Also mentionable that this course is brought up to you by the Takeoff College, the smartest alternative currently available to the traditional education. With all that being said, I'm so excited, so let's get started. So what we are going to do in the continue to our work is that we need to behave in a frame. And that is why HTML exists. This is not actually this easy, as I said. And we have a frame. But the question that comes to mind at first is that when we can do it like this, so you can easily type anything over here, type anything over here and save and see the changes over here, why do we need to follow that frame? And that is a very brilliant question. But there's also a very logical answer to that question. Because in real world projects and in websites, etc., this hello world may be very different with this type anything over here. And we need to specify those differences. Wherever we have an image, we need to specify what kind of an image it is and what is this image talking about. Whenever we have a link, we need to specify the URL to that link, the purpose to that link, and the anchor to that link. Whenever we have headings, we need to specify what they are, how important they are. Whenever we have a quotation, we need to specify that. Whenever we have a list, we need to specify that. And all of that make this kind of typing impossible when we are working on real world projects. And that's why HTML is created. That's why we have frames in web. In order to get started, you need to be familiar with a couple concepts. The first one is tags. So what are tags? HTML is basically based on these tags we're talking about. So these tags are those frames that I just mentioned. And we have two major kinds of tags. One of them are like this. You open them up with this little sign we have, and you type the tag name inside of that. You close it like this, and it also gets a closing tag. So this is called the opening and this is called the closing. And this is the structure to the tags we have. And inside of these tags, we may have other tags, or we may have a couple contents, settings, etc. So this is the first look that we can get in HTML from a tag. And we also have tags without closing. So how they work is that they actually look like this. So they are themselves and themselves only, because they do not need to contain anything between them, and they cannot contain anything between them, and that's impossible for them. So they do not have an opening or closing. They are only and only themselves. So these are the two main kinds of tags that we have. A couple of tags that we mentioned further in the course are like this, and some of them are like this. And we are going to mention them whenever we are working with them. So this is what we call a tag. And this is how HTML is based on. Another important thing to be familiar with is attributes. What are attributes? Inside the tags that we may have certain settings for each one. And we do those settings with the attributes they offer us. Attributes is like this. So you have the attribute, name or whatever. You have an equal. What I'm teaching you is called the structure. So you're learning the foundations of how HTML basically works. So you have this attribute name over here. You have equal, and you have two double quotations, which you can use to include the data inside that. We also can have attributes for these kind of tags. So they will be like this. Attribute equals to data. We never ever have attributes for the closing parts of these kinds of tags. This is another important thing to keep in mind. So whenever we're talking about attributes, we mean something like this or something like this. That's it. Another thing to mention is that this kind of single isolated tag that you see doesn't always necessarily have to have this backslash, or I think it's slash, I believe. Whatever it is, we don't always need that, especially in HTML5. We can just not mention that and everything will work correctly. But the point here is that we still do not need and do not have to use any closing for them. That's also important. And that's it. Let's get started with the default tags that every single HTML page and every single web page in the world has to include. If you type HTML5 like this in VS Code, in Visual Studio Code, you will get this entire code written for you over here. These are the default tags. These are the base tags, the foundation tags of an HTML page. So first of all, over here, as you see, we have this doc type HTML thing, which introduces our HTML page to the browser. So it says that this page is written in HTML and is necessary, by the way. And below that, as you see, we have a tag called HTML. HTML does contain a closing, as you see, and does contain an attribute of lang, which is the language that our page is on, and as you see, is set to EN or English. Inside HTML, as you see, we have two other important tags, which are head and body. We must, in every single project that we have, in every single web page that we're working on, we must include all of these. So keep that in mind. We have head, which is for the settings to our web page, and we have body, which is the content of our web page. So here, as you see, in head, we have a couple meta tags, which are for settings, as I said, of our web page. We have a title, which I can change to Hello World. And if I save, as you see here, we have index.html, but if I reload it, here will change to Hello World. Very cool one, right? Yes. What else do we have? We have body, and inside body, we are just getting started with the HTML tags that we have for our web page's content.